From an idea first mooted almost 20 years ago, the biennial Cork Dry Gin Round Ireland has grown into one of the world's most prestigious offshore yacht races. The 1996 Lion Honours were taken by the massive 83-foot yacht Bridgestone. And overall race winner in the same year was Michael Boyd's Big Ears, a J35, which won the race based on a handicap time system, taking account of different boat sizes and sail area. To complete the course is a challenge of skill and endurance, which many sailors over the years strive to achieve. The race starts off Wicklow Harbour on Ireland's east coast. The yacht sails south, rounding Tusker Lighthouse and onto the Fastnet. Then it's out into the Atlantic Ocean and up the west coast of Ireland. Rounding the northern coast, the yachts re-enter the Irish Sea and sail south to the finish at Wicklow. With a minimum distance of 704 miles, the course record stands at 84 hours and 56 minutes, or put another way, 3 days, 12 hours, 56 minutes and 6 seconds. The record was set by Laurie Smith with the Maxi Yacht Rothmans in 1990. Organised by the Wicklow Sailing Club, the 1998 event coincides with the Wicklow Midsummer Festival. The rumba on the quayside and the festive atmosphere in the town gave many of the crews the opportunity to relax and enjoy themselves before the challenge that lay ahead. Saturday morning and it's race day. The quayside is busy with activity as the crews store their provisions and make final boat preparations. In light of the Fastnet race and the disaster that happened in that event, safety is at the forefront of any sailing event, and for the race organisers, this Round Ireland is no exception.
Which we had to clear up. One was how do you intend to recover a man from overboard if he falls over?
Well, what we started out in that direction, now we have a handy billy for the end of the boom. So
the major items are to ensure that, first of all the life rafts are fully serviced and in date, which is very important on it, and that all the other safety equipment, like man overboard equipment, is all functional, and that all the crews have their own personal life jackets. We insist that each crew member has a life jacket, and the new regulation for this year is that they all must have a light. I think we're happy now that all the boats will be leaving today at 2 o'clock, fully ready for the 704 miles round Ireland.
The race attracts a wide range of sailing talent, from the experienced amateur club sailor to world professionals.
It would appear you're going to be beating for the first portion of the race, the first portion being from here to Kerry. It looks as if the weather's going to go that way. It's going to be beat down, the low is moving up, and it appears...
At the pre-race skipper's briefing, presided over by Fergus O'Cahoor, familiar faces from previous races assembled to take final notes and instructions before signing off.
We're very, very nervous, all of us are, as we always are before these races. But we have a lovely bit of weather, and that's cheering us all up, and we're really looking forward to it. And we're hoping now for a pleasant trip, even though I think we're going to get a bit of wind on the west coast, because there hasn't been a week without it this year so far.
There were 2 pool bag boats in it this year. It's a little less than normal, but we're hoping we'll do well. We're both in the same class, class 4.
The only thing now is to pick up the breeze, get the weather forecast bang on, and to be in the right place at the right time for when the breeze comes in from the south. We have a low mid-Atlantic, and that's going to be the main weather pattern for us for the next 3 or 4 days anyway. And we're just keeping an eye on that, and hopefully if we get that right, we'll be up around the north of Ireland, possibly late Tuesday night, early Wednesday morning.
As the tension builds to the race start, the yachts leave the harbour to prepare. Cracklin Rosie, Roy Dixon, a tough competitor down the Irish Sea. and the local entry from Wicklow Racing Club. Moonduster skippered by the legendary Dennis Doyle at the age of 78, and the club companion from Crosshaven of the Royal Cork White Rooster, solicitor Jim Donegan.
What I fear most is the northern coastline, because I don't know it as well as I know the south coastline. And I think the south coastline is fantastic, and sailing on that south coastline, from the minute you get around the Tusker to Dingle, it's beautiful. And it's a lovely sailing area as such. You know, there's plenty of scenery there, and it's very nice. And likewise with the western coastline, but you don't see very much of the western coastline because you're outside, off the land quite a bit. But northern coastline, I fear, because of tides probably and seas that you get up there.
The Sunday Times is a £200,000 38-foot premier yacht skippered by Irish Army Air Corps Captain Tom O'Connor. New Zealander Ted Foster drew his team from a regular crew in Dunleary on board Janie Mack. Colin Barrington's entry is Jeep Cherokee, fresh from the Whitbread Round the World race. She had a tough time there, and she sailed that race under the name of Toshiba. The largest yacht in the race, however, is the Maxi 83-foot Bridgestone F1, built in 1989. Peter Gabriel's Austrian entry, Equity and Law, is another veteran of round-the-world racing. A pre-Whitbread 60, this boat has competed in previous Round Ireland races. In the previous event and before that as Phillips Innovator.
It's a classic yacht race, a classic ocean race, and I think it's something that everybody should do at least once. The problem is, once you do it once, you tend to become a bit of a fanatic for it and want to go on. Think of the old man of the sea, Dennis Doyle, who's there, going to be very competitive again. Jim Donegan. I mean, these are people who've been at it since the start, and they're just as keen today as probably the first race they did.
But entry numbers are down on previous events. So what's the reason for that this year?
I think there's been a little bit of a shift in terms of the fleets that are sailing. The smaller sports boats have drawn a number of people away. Other people that I know have graduated into the cruising classes. So I think it's just a temporary lull. This is a race which is going to go on and on and on. It's a classic, and I'm quite sure that the fleet will build up again as new people come into the sport.
The pier at Wicklow Harbour and Wicklow Head provide an excellent vantage point for spectators to view the race start.
20 seconds.
Racing off the boat.
20 seconds and off.
Everybody on the wall. No, down the line. On. No.
4, 3, 2,
That's it.
1.
Well, I've gone.
On board Quest, the tension to the race start is evident as the boats come up to the naval vessel which traditionally starts it. It's 2 p.m. Saturday and the race starts in a damp, southerly, strong flooding tide. Ahead lies 704 miles back to this very line. It'll be tough rounding Ireland. Roy Dixon's Crackling Rosie, the red boat, makes a good start along with Dennis Doyle's Moonduster. Though it's a long race, the start provides good morale for the crew if they feel they've got away, the skipper is in charge and the boat is heading well. Ragtime, the blue boat, English skipper Jeff Whittaker in charge. ADC Barcode, Anthony Kingston's boat, is a first entry, a 45 F5 with a Bermuda rig. He's from West Cork. Boats begin to space out gradually. It's a shifty wind, fighting the tide, not easy to get going, and they need to clear away from Wicklow quickly. Morale at this stage is very important for the crew aboard. Imp, she's one of the most famous of Irish offshore yachts and the last of a generation of craft, still a potent force under George Radley and a key part of the Kinsale Yacht Club team from the south coast, lifting nicely as she starts to clear Wicklow Head. Roy Dixon of Howth Yacht Club had modified his Corby 40 Crackling Rosie for the race, but the surgery and modifications had not helped the performance, it seemed, at this stage. A few adjustments and a few anxious moments aboard Crackling Rosie to get her going. if they're not smiling too much on Crackling Rosie at this stage, in other parts of the race and on other boats they were. The Welsh entry, Keep On Smiling, a Sigma 400. Tim Little heads a highly experienced offshore racing crew. Still in contention, Crackling Rosie and of course the majestic wooden boat Moonduster. Crackling Rosie's skipper Roy Dixon will enjoy being so close to Moonduster at this stage, for just like Dennis Doyle, he's also a sailing legend. Roy's main contribution in his early years to sailing was being a dinghy sailing champion. Interlink Express sailed the Admiral's Cup racing in 1989 and includes Irish and New Zealand sailors. With the yachts barely moving, the helmsmen look out for any signs of a breeze, little ripples on the sea, telling them a gust is on the way. This is painstaking sailing, slow moving. Wicklow lifeboat cleaves past, and other boats are out just to watch the day. But it's inclement weather for the sailors. For them, not enough breeze, the mist, the damp and the tide all working against them. Back at Wicklow, the larger maxi yachts are starting half an hour behind the main fleet. With the flood tide running north against the fleet and the breeze dying, the boats slowed practically to a crawl. Bridgestone and Jeep Cherokee would soon slice through the fleet ahead, however, their massive sails rigged, meaning that they had a deciding factor in their advantage. So the two maxi yachts are already embroiled in their own mini-race as part of this year's Round Ireland. Jeep Cherokee managing to get a slight advantage over Bridgestone, Colin Barrington on the helm. Pleased at this stage to be cleaving away from Wicklow, the race at last underway after all the planning. Equity and Low starting inshore was not in the same league, but would be up there behind the big guns. Bridgestone, with sets of sails made of Kevlar costing over £35,000. Chris Sherlock, who sailed with Mike Slades for several years as captain, is skipper for this race, with a professional crew aboard. Kim Morton is ex-Fortuna, and there are also several Whitbread veterans. Neil Graham was a driver with Silcott, a team that also supplied Neil MacDonald, Ross Pickthall and bowman Jason Carrington. Paul Quinn and David Duff come from Merritt Cup. Aboard Moonduster, skipper Dennis Doyle has seen it all before. But what fears does he have during the Round Ireland race?
Well, I don't really fear anything about it. The only thing I worry about are the nets off the northern coast, where you can get caught in them and it stops you very much for maybe an hour or something like that.
John McGowan's Norvantes is a Camper and Nicholson design, a regular in the race, though a heavy boat which has seen many of her former companions fall by the wayside as crews opt for lighter, faster boats. ADC Barcode is one of those.
This is our third Round Ireland. We've done it on two different boats before this. Our boat is called ADC Barcode Systems. It's a very experienced crew going right across the age spectrum. We have 2 girls sailing with us this year and 7 boys, 7 men. I better have men that quickly. The skipper is my husband, Tony Kingston, and he's a captain with Merchant Marine with the shipping company. So his experience in navigation is invaluable to us.
Eris Lannan and its experienced skipper Paul Kerwin from the Royal St George Yacht Club in Dunleary are one of the favourites for the Sigma 36 class. But though the Sigma has become a very important and favoured ocean racer, there are surprisingly few Sigma 36 entries in this year's race. And the going is very light for them, as it is for all the fleet at this stage. Jeep Cherokee, the former Toshiba, the round-the-world racer, proceeding very slowly, crew deciding on the next tactic, possibly a tack about to be made to see can they get a better wind direction. Paul Strandbridge, who'd led the crew for most of the race, including victory on the transatlantic stage in the Round the World, is on board for this Round Ireland race with 3 of the Round the World team. And yes, assuredly they tack, looking to work their way away from the coastline and get more favourable air. There'll be a lot of slow, careful work as they try to work down the coast. It's not easy in a big boat, when there's very little wind. Jackdaw under David Walters is another returning visitor. In 1991 J39 with sloop rig, she was 9th on CHS overall in the 1996 race. Jackdaw can be expected to be up with the leading mid-sized boats and in contention. Imp, George Radley's Kinsale entry from the south coast, part of a team under which Kinsale are hoping to once again win the club title. Kinsale prides itself on coming to the fore in ocean racing and has been developing the club in cruiser yacht racing for several years. This time there are 3 yachts on the club entry and they're hoping to make that overall title. In fact, they say they're determined to do it. Still in the early stages of the race, but Trinculo of Howth under skipper Michael Fleming is a proven racer in home waters and won't be letting anyone get away from her. And the Austrian entry, Equity in Law, even its big sails can't move it fast. It's a tedious race right now.
25 years ago I was going by Interrail, and since that time I didn't got the land out of my head. So that's the main reason I'm coming here, and it's a hard race. I think this race is harder than from the weather conditions than the Fastnet race. And also the fleet is very, very fast, very good boats, very experienced sailors here. And for a land like Austria, that's in the center of Europe, yeah, it's really a competition to take part in this race.
It's a bit of a competition also for the small boat being blanketed at the moment by Equity in Law's big tall rig. And there's plenty of competition between the different sailing clubs around the coast. For example, Wicklow Racing is Barrington's Surf and Shoes, which had been chartered to a Wicklow group under Simon Greenwood. The funding for the entry was raised from local businesses, hence the name of the boat, Wicklow Racing, and determined to do well to represent the town. Good food is said to be the order of the day aboard Shea Ewan, the boat being skippered by 23-year-old Ewan Jacobs, manager and chef of the family's Baltimore restaurant in West Cork. Others among the 10-man crew are Cathal Cottrell, Pat Collins and navigator Michael Boyd. So how is a racing crew formed? Cracklin Rosie's story.
The main crew that I've had for years, and a lot of experience, very good people to back you when things get tough, which is why you have good crew. Jim Barden, we have aboard, we've got David Hart, Arthur O'Kelly.
So a skipper depends on his crew, and they say and they hope a good crew will keep a boat moving in any bit of wind, like Interlink Express is now trying to do. But it's a testing time in the first few hours of the race. Wave Sweeper. She's a Liverpool-based 146 and another unknown quantity. And this is Flourishing, an Oyster 41 skippered by the chairman of Wicklow Urban Council, Roy Conway. It's his second attempt at completing the race. Another unknown quantity in pre-race betting is the Sigma 38 class entry Gallagher 2. Trinculo of Howth under Michael Fleming and Ragtime to windward, or whatever wind there is. Testing time for a crew trying to sit leeward to heel the boat. Army New Age Services, formerly Sarah J, is skippered by Commandant Oliver Gray.
Sailing has been recognised as an adventure sport in the Army for 15 to 20 years now. And we see sailing as an activity that promotes group bonding, team activity, and it's an essential part of Army training.
Ready!
Challenging the Army is an Air Corps man who's skippered not alone around Ireland but around the world. So is there any difference in this challenge?
And every race is different, and this is a much different kind of a race. It's kind of flat out for 4 or 5 days, so it has a very big challenge for me as well. I've mainly Air Corps guys, so I had a 94 Round Ireland on Air Corps 1. I have 5 or 6 Air Corps guys. I have a beginner, which the Sunday Times selected through competition, which they ran through their newspaper, a guy called David Slattery from Newcastle. He'd never set foot on a yacht 2 months ago, and we've trained him for the last 2 months.
I'm not really fearing anything. I mean, I'm looking forward to it, but I mean, I know it's going to be it's a tough, uncomfortable, wet, miserable 5 days. At the same time, though, I'm really looking forward to, I suppose, completing it.
There's a big change aboard this boat where the skipper in the last race is serving as crew this time.
I'd heard quite a bit about Ewan because he was watch leader on Imp during the Fastnet race last year, and we were very close together for a very long time, and a little from a distance I'd come to admire his sailing skills. I asked him if he wouldn't mind keeping a slot or two for us on board Big Ears, now Shea Ewan, and he very kindly agreed.
It's a lot of pressure, really. I think we'll do all right. We've got Michael on board there, he's going navigating. He's got most of it kind of, well, he done a lot of the organising for this as well, you know. Got all the course and everything down, got all the tides and everything, so kind of left that in his hands. Got a few more people on the boat. Tim was on the boat. Quite confident with him. He was on the boat. He's done 3 Round Irelands. Michael's done 3 Round Irelands, so it makes a big difference, you know.
On board all the boats, there's some tendency to boredom as things slow down. This is Bridgestone, one of the big maxis. But aboard others like Barcode, there's also some boredom setting in.
Yeah. Who have I got here? Giles? Was that salt coffee nice, Giles?
It was beautiful. I love salt in my coffee. Yeah. It really improves the flavour.
We won't say anything about the chef
we won't say anything about the fellow who made it, though.
Yawning away, even with a kite up, and they're supposed to be the exciting part of sailing. Aboard the Army, it's also boredom, but they've seen the back of at least one mark.
It's 8 o'clock, we're just 6 hours into the race, and we've finally seen the back of Wicklow Head.
But during the rest of Saturday, overnight and into Sunday morning, the first boats would pass the Tusker Rock off Rosslare. Provisional handicap results based on the times at Tusker showed Ragtime taking the early lead, followed by Cracklin Rosie. There was only a minute between the leaders on the water, Jeep Cherokee and Bridgestone F1, when they rounded the Tusker at 11:30 on Saturday night. However, the slow early stages of the race meant the big boats were well down the fleet based on handicap time.
After making a lot of money last night, sleeping on the rail, got very good boat speed, good VMG, and we're heading generally towards the Conning Beg. We're about 10 miles west, strong east of it, and we think we might have spotted the Duster.
Moon Duster's here! Yeah!
Woohoo! We've just spotted Moon Duster. That's the Moon Duster. Sunday morning. Looks like we've kept up with them all night.
And that's encouraging when daybreak comes. But the biggies were finding it tough going, not because the winds were strong, they were in fact too light. Jeep Cherokee trying for the overall speed record and hunted along the way by her great rival Bridgestone. It seemed that these two would be the story of the Round Ireland 1998.
This morning, everything stopped, queuing in traffic, all revved up and going nowhere fast. This'll get you moving.
It's the chunks that make 'em hunks.
It's the golf sale you've been waiting for, and at McGurk's Golf, already famous for low prices, we now have even more massive sale reductions. McGurk's Golf, Blanchardstown and House.
Cleaning your tarnished silver and jewellery is no longer a problem using the patented Silver Star cleaning plate. Fill a bowl with hot tap water, add ordinary salt. Now place the Silver Star plate in the bowl and put in your precious silver objects needing to be cleaned. Silver Star cleans right up to the water level and has no chemicals, so it's completely safe on silver as well as your hands. The star formation and balanced composition are the secret of Silver Star's unique cleaning capabilities, cleaning even the finest layer of silver plate with total safety. That's why it's used by professionals the world over. You can even use your cutlery straight after cleaning, as there are no toxic smells or nasty aftertaste. Silver Star cleans copper, stainless steel, most bronzes, gold and jewellery, cleaning right into the links of necklaces and bracelets. Large objects too can be cleaned, making all your precious pieces sparkle. Silver Star lasts a lifetime. To order, phone your local number now.
Don't try this with an ordinary pen. It's the Penally fountain pen. The secret's in the nib. This amazing pen features a unique iridium tip nib, specially crafted and constructed with Swiss precision engineering. It's hard, it's durable, it's virtually indestructible. Plus you can choose to use the removable pump or the disposable cartridge. Because it's pressure sensitive, it adjusts to your own writing style. And unlike ordinary fountain pens, Penally writes in all directions, just like a ball pen. The amazing Penally pen. Excellent performance first time, every time. And it's yours for only $19.95 plus postage and packing of $4.95. But that's not all. To promote this exciting range of pens, you'll also receive the complete set of matching Penally pens as a special bonus. You'll receive the executive ball pen with a pressurized refill system. Next, the reliable roller ball. It writes on practically any surface, even upside down. Next, the Penally Combi pen. It writes black, twist it, writes green, and now red. And it's yours. Also, this fabulous ladies' pen. Perfectly balanced, it's elegant and stylish to pop into your handbag. You'll also get this matching mechanical pencil that writes and draws smoothly. Plus, we'll also throw in this bonus super slim checkbook pen. But wait, there's more. You'll also get this 65-piece refill pack as an extra bonus. Solve all your gift problems for just $19.95 plus P&P of $4.95. So call TV Media. Operators are standing by to take your order. Call now.
Sunday morning on the Round Ireland Race 1998, and the Host Club members aboard their Sigma Trincula are in some happy mood. At least they're moving a bit better than the previous day, heading down the Irish Sea, then for the turn, and round into the Atlantic, facing along the south coast. Amazing Grace from Kinsale will soon be approaching her home club waters. Gary Horgan, skipper and owner, is in charge. She's a long-time campaigner in club racing along the south coast. And here we have Flourishing, the chairman of Wicklow Urban Council, trying to get around Ireland in one piece this time. In 1994, gear failure ended his race. The Rebel from Howth, another Sigma, entered by the Howth Club. They seem to like this design in that County Dublin port. Gareth Hanley is in charge here. And she is not alone on this particular stretch of water. Just coming into view, two close competitors. Wind over the port side this time, but at least they're making several knots. And here the Tyrrell family from Arklow, a proud part of Irish maritime tradition. They're both this time Aquilina. They've passed home waters on the Wicklow coast at this stage of the race, but they all seem happy on Sunday morning. Also happy are the AIB investment managers, about to look for pigeon pie and possibly a change of course. And they've got the pigeon, and they seem to have got some wind as well. Nicely heeled, wind over the port side, and beating down towards the south coast. But suddenly there's a change of direction. Perhaps that pigeon has carried some message about the wind. Meanwhile, aboard the Youth Challenge in Equinox, the leader is a 21-year-old Emma MacDonald, who's helmed for the previous 2 years. The yacht has a string of top 3 placings in regattas and series including class honours in the Wicklow to Welsh race and the Holyhead to Howth offshore racing. The crew of 9 are aged between 18 and 26, all experienced dinghy sailors. Aboard the Army boat, they're now on a starboard tack. There's a glistening sea ahead and the boat is punching its way through the waves.
Good one. Okay, everybody set up.
It's 10 to 1 Sunday afternoon, and we're 8 miles off Minehead here on the chart, right? And we're steering about 260. We're trying to stay on our rum line, which is a rum line all the way down towards the Fastnet. So things are going well. We have a couple of boats around us at the moment, Jenny Mac, and one of the boats that we give a bit of time to. So we're doing all right, and everything is more or less hunky-dory on board.
Sail number K44187, the white hull of Janie Mack, under the command of Adrian Lee from London, racing in Class 2, a 1992 Sigma 400 fractional rig, and a length overall of 40 feet. Now she's got the wind to power her along. Crew spirit is rising as the wind increases the speed. Aboard Interlink Express, they're on a different tack, but they're also doing pretty well this morning. In fact, the Rebel County is hoving into sight.
We're off Cork Harbour.
Are we doing all right?
We're doing grand.
We're going to get there?
We're going to get there. We're leaking a bit here and there. Mast skate, and the shrouds are late.
Jeff Whittaker's Ragtime had been 8 minutes ahead of Roy Dixon's Cracklin' Rosie for the overall lead back at the Tusker, but had begun to fade along the south coast. No such fading, however, for the business-funded boat from Wicklow. Surf and Shoes was dancing along very nicely this morning. And that should please the businessmen from Wicklow who'd raised the money for this entry, keeping the name of the county high in the sailing sphere. And the Kinsale Club also wants to keep its reputation high. This is Quest.
Well, she's a Rogers 43. The crew are all, well, 90% of them are well-sailed people, and I have 2 first-timers with me. It's a beautiful race, if it goes right. It generally does. So hopefully this one will go well as well, and the crew will enjoy it. And I know I certainly will again.
Oh, yes.
Don't get very wet.
The watches are 4 hours on and 4 hours off, except for helming. Paul, who owns the boat, will helm at night. He'll helm from, I think, 11 o'clock at night until 6 in the morning. And then after that, there's 2 other helmsmen. They'll do 4 hours on, 4 hours off during the day. And the rest of the crew will be 4 hours on, 4 hours off, except for myself, who's cooking. So I'll be just up when I'm cooking. We have stroganoffs, pastas, spare ribs, pasties in the morning, fries. We have full cooked meals every day. It's great.
And there's posh, full-cooked meals aboard Quest every day. But there's great legends also about the Round Ireland. Roy Dixon and Cracklin' Rosie is one, the man who began his sailing career racing snipes and hornets in the 1950s. He was Irish Hornets champion back in 1953, and his boat-building skills introduced him to the Fireball dinghy. And that was a boat he introduced to Ireland and went on to success in the World Championships. Then he turned to cruiser racing. This is his 7th yacht, a John Corby design, and he's continuing his success with it. The Sunday Times entry is skippered by Tom O'Connor, the Air Corps pilot. This morning he's running 4th on the water. But the wind is up and helping the boat to move a bit faster, but she's still behind the Austrian entry, running 3rd in the water, equity and low. After her round-the-world experience, she now has a new role in training.
Equity and law is mainly used as education ship for students that want to learn sailing, or they want to learn something about weather conditions and get experience with the sea. And she's mainly a training boat for race sailing.
For this type of boat, these are good sailing conditions. The southern waters are now showing their best splendour. Fine, clear blue sky, good breeze, and good speed. That'll lift the spirits and the morale of the crew aboard. The Old Head Lighthouse, a navigational mark on the south coast. 11 miles away from it, the liner Lusitania sank. But this morning it's an occasion when the big Maxis are beating their way towards the Fastnet. Jeep Cherokee, seeking to be the number one, a speed record in its sight. The wind has picked up, the boat is moving faster. Bridgestone not far behind, challenging. The coast just behind, a splendid morning for sailing. Below decks on Jeep Cherokee, the computers have broken down. They'd been used to optimize performance of the yacht up to now, so the navigator is back to pen, pencil and charts. But that's what navigators are for. The yacht is now beginning to beat up the West Cork coastline heading towards Kerry, and she's just rounded the most fearsome mark of all for navigators. Off the West Cork coast stands the Fastnet Rock. As Jeep Cherokee leaves the Fastnet behind, she pulls away from Bridgestone, in close to ideal sailing conditions on the west coast for a record-breaking run. The next crucial test is reaching the tidal-gated Rathlin Island with southwesterly winds in their favour, so they hope.
How do you expect Jeep's performance on the west coast if this breeze comes in?
Well, if the breeze stays in the same speed and same direction, I mean, we should be into either a jib top or a spinnaker. And in that case, the boat should be up to 13 knots, occasionally up to 15, 16. So it should be quite exciting.
And how do you expect the record will hold or fall in this in these conditions?
Well, we can still do it if the conditions stay as they are. But I mean, we still have two and a bit more days. So who's to know what's going to happen between this and say Tuesday night?
And what about...
We have to be at 3:26 on Wednesday morning.
And what about boats around you, apart from Bridgestone? Who else have you seen?
We haven't seen anybody since well before the Topska, other than Bridgestone.
As the yachts enter their second night at sea, gale-force winds were forecast to lash the fleet. By the start of day 3 on Monday morning, while the leaders were clear of Inishtiruk, many of the rest of the fleet were still only rounding the Fastnet and about to head into the tougher conditions ahead of them. This would test all the sailors. ADC Barcode, another of the Kinsale entries, the sea getting just a bit more rolling now. That induces some queasiness and the awful horror of seasickness amongst the crews. They'd suffer from that, but for the next 130 miles as they beat up towards the Skelligs and on westwards and up around the top of Ireland, they'd also face the challenge of nets laid by fishermen without warning sometimes, and many rocky, difficult coastline, and with not a lot of escape points to get shelter if the weather should get worse. But for the present, the worst that can be said is a queasy stomach. But no matter how the crew feels, this is still a race. There are places to be fought for and prizes to be won. Janie Mack, the English entry, experiencing the tough sailing conditions that the Atlantic can throw off boats off the west coast of Ireland. But still prepared to take a photograph of the helicopter crew filming them. For Sarah J., now sailing as Army New Age service, this would be the last stage of their 1998 Round Ireland Yacht Race. Very shortly they'd encounter trouble which would demand that they'd put into Dingle for some other type of service. Their mast broke and that ended their race. But from across the Irish Sea, the Liverpool Yacht Club was still racing on Wave Sweeper. David Lee and Lord Gregson in charge, and she's managing to hold the seas and deal with them comfortably. The crew looking just a little tired on the rail. While Quest from the Kinsale Yacht Club is still maintaining their challenge for the club title, other boats from Cork have had to retire. Jim Donegan from the Royal Cork Yacht Club and White Rooster was first to go. Shay Ewan from Baltimore also retired after the forestay fitting failed on his J22. Joe Leba of the Wicklow Sailing Club team was forced to retire with steering problems off West Cork. But in spite of the conditions, older boats like Imp are still coping. And though there have been withdrawals, the number of boats pulling out is considerably down on previous years, and on 1996 in particular, when 1/3 of the fleet retired before reaching the southwest coast. The Howth Club on their Sigma Trincula are still there. The wind is up, conditions make for faster sailing, but sometimes lonely, not a boat to be seen for miles. Sline Head passes by. The boats are putting miles under their keels and they're experiencing varying conditions. Up ahead, the bigger boat, Equity and Law, has its spinnaker up. But for others, sailing conditions would change. The winds would strengthen and the sea conditions would get worse.
Good morning, Mr. Glenn Smith. Up the rattling, sir. Mind the space, I'll let you please, sir. The fine Spanish galleon off the port bow. I knew you'd follow that, for God's sake. Mr. McGowan, sir, if you fail to follow that order, we'll have to keelhaul you. The weather's fantastic. Loving the Irish summer. I could better put some more sunblock on. We've had reports of sunfish, but I don't believe them.
There are times when sailing can be such fun. The leaders are now reaching Wicklow and the finish line. Farther back, boats are stretched out as far as Innistroffel, still not having rounded the top of Ireland. But for Colin Barrington and his crew on Jeep Cherokee, the finish at Wicklow beckons, and possibly a Round Ireland speed record. The boat has been helped by modern technology. Water ballast is pumped from one side to the other as she tacks. It means that on long-reaching legs or even beating, she can achieve speeds of up to 20 knots. And that has paid off on the 110 miles down the Irish Sea from New Ireland to Wicklow. 20 knots is a very high speed for a yacht. And it has meant that the record is within her grasp. Behind her, Bridgestone has lost touch. There's now 2 hours between the yachts. At Wicklow, Jeep Cherokee takes Lion Honours in the Cork Dry Gin Round Ireland Yacht Race for 1998. She finishes in 3 days, 4 hours, 23 minutes and 57 seconds. A great achievement.
Well, I'm ecstatic. I feel really super. It was just a wonderful sail, and winning the race, being first home anyway, and hope we win on corrected time, and beating the course record was just super feeling. It's just wonderful. I mean, we knew we had a very good boat, and we knew we had a very good crew, but then we could have sat in one of the parking lots up off the northeast coast for half a day, as has happened in the past, and we could have blown everything. But in fact, we got good air all the way around Ireland. Not always in the direction we would have liked, but we got good wind the whole way. The water ballast is very, very important on the boat. It takes away the effort on the crew of sitting out all the time. On an 84-foot Bridgestone, which I did the last race on, everybody had to sit out. Only the off-watch personnel were allowed down below. On the 60, the Whitbread 60, it's a different kettle of fish altogether. You can afford to go down and sleep, 6 on, 6 off. And we had 2 floaters, which was a very, very helpful thing. So the skipper and the navigator were able to float all the time, keeping their eye on where they were going and keeping the crew morale up. Different attitude on board the boat compared to the normal conventional boat.
Now, 8:03 in the Corchin press office, and the deadlines are coming up for all the newspapers. At the moment we're trying to get pictures out to the main national dailies. Most of the journalists have filed their stories, and these are the pictures to go with the stories.
Yeah, they're nearly
We're just waiting for the Irish Independent to phone us.
How are you doing? It's Paul Rowley here at the Round Ireland Yacht Race. Yeah, is there anybody there? Are you ready? All right, it's coming to you in 3, 2, 1.
So our day kind of starts really at about 6 in the morning time. We come down here, both Paul Rowley and myself. We check the information upstairs, try to collate it, and we have David Brannigan come in. We do interviews with members of the boats, either over on the radio or using the mobile phones. We put together reports. Paul sends the reports to the independent stations, and I fax out information.
Bridgestone finished about 2.5 hours later. Colin Barrington and Jeep Cherokee had smashed the course record by 8 hours and established a new time of 76 hours and 23 minutes. Bridgestone would also defeat the previous Laurie Smith record, fulfilling an ambition for her skipper Mike Slade as well. The wait was now on to watch the fleet's progress as the handicapping clock started to count.
I think he chose the right boat. Bloody marvellous. Can a man get on dry land, eh? Congratulations.
Hold on, Mike.
Well done,
Well
you
done,
guys.
mate.
What a blinder. Hey!
Conditions are right, mate.
What? Conditions
Conditions are right. Conditions are right. Conditions are right.
Brilliant. Really good. Hi, guys. Go and kiss the wife. Hello, darling. How are you? Oh, mwah. They got in 2.5 hours ahead of us at 7 o'clock, and they put 21 miles on us on the west coast up Galway, and they've been 2.5 hours ahead of us all the way around. That's not bad, is it? So I blame you, Duffy. It's your bloody fault.
Did they use their engine?
And yes, they used their engine. They got the jump off us off Galway, and as soon as they go off the breeze, up goes the kite, on comes the water ballast. They were doing 30 knots. I mean, it just goes. It's a rocket, yeah, where the water ballast works. And then round the top, we thought we'd be pulling them back. And I'd love to know we were only about 2.5 or 2 hours behind them. That would have really spurred us on. We actually thought they'd gone 4 hours ahead of us. So we just keep plugging away and keep plugging away. And coming down the Irish Sea, lots of tacking. That is our forte, whereas theirs it is not. So we hoped we were going to pull back. But we honestly thought they were here, gone, and we were dead in the water. But we're delighted to get in and find they're only 2.5 hours ahead of us, which is a thrill. I think it's a wonderful race, and I'd like to see more big boats come to this race. So the more we come and the more the Whitbread 60s come, and you get some other big boats coming next time, the more the big boats, the better, I think.
Big boats may dominate the race, but it's not until the small boats finish that the result is finally known. And in spite of line honours being claimed by Jeep Cherokee, it would be another 24 hours before Colin Barrington found out that he could claim the overall race title on Channel Handicap. And in the end, it was a loss of wind on the Irish Sea, slowing the fleet, which gave Colin Barrington's Jeep Cherokee the overall victory.